Oh,
Wow. Welcome, Tim. A very good morning to you.
good day.
Uh,
How are you?
you're doing good. It's just raining here in Bangalore. It's a hit, I think 30 minutes back. It's still continuing. Uh, yeah, the weather-wise, it's good. But you know the rains, right? Well,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
people. So, people, my name is Kumar Pushpak, and I am once again with Tim Jerome, who is a project management consultant, author, and a career consultant. Um, well, what we're going to talk today, we had been just talking about a pandemic situation, and me and Tim were on a phone call yesterday, where I just mentioned this is not the world that I wanted to live in. I didn't sign up for this world ever. Well, so,
I'm there with you. I'm there with you. Oh dear. Oh dear.
yeah,
I want to share something with you, Kumar.
go
We've been
ahead.
having we're we're about 18 hours by car from
Hmm.
California, okay?
Hmm.
And we've been having smoke from the fires in California, and we've been having smoke from the fires in Colorado, and we've been having a little smoke from a couple small
Hmm.
fires in New Mexico. And it's like, this is strange. And then last night, I was listening, and about 6.5 hours by car above us is Denver.
Hmm.
They just had temperatures of 101 degrees Fahrenheit a day ago, which is a little extreme for this time of year.
Uh-huh.
Not 2 days later, they're going to get snow within within 2 days, within 48 hours. I'm going to turn on the television after we're through here, and I'm going to hear about a house that picked up itself up and walked out of town on 2 feet. I know it's going to happen. We've had earthquakes, we've had fires, we've had everything. It's extreme. And I'm I was a young engineer, and I just become an IT director. And one of my peers and I agreed that
Hmm.
we were never, ever going to mention a certain phrase ever again
Hmm.
because it blesses and curses you. What else could possibly happen? Whenever you say that, it's going to. And I have never lived in such times like this.
Right.
It is
Right.
so strange. This is not just oh, that's interesting. This is wow. I wonder what else is going to happen. And it does. And it does. And it does. And it does. And I didn't want to distract from what you were saying. You and I were mentioning the fact that we're living at a time where, mercy, people are ill, and people are ill so quickly and so fast. People are on ventilators like that. People who are healthy and happy are fighting for their lives in the hospital like that. And it's not just one person. It's not just you. It's all of us.
Hmm.
And this comes back to what you were saying, and what we were talking about with Mark Corbin last week. Um, this is not just stress. This is not just anxiety. This is here to stay. And how long can we put up with this?
Right. Right. No, I agree on this. I mean, look at the way the world has changed. One positive thing that I'm aware of is the normal uh, viral fever, or viral infection has gone down, has gone drastically down compared to the last year. So people falling ill uh, has reduced because they are not going out, so they are not getting in contact with the other viruses which were present or which are present. So that's one positive sign. So this tells me that, hey, you know what, all things apart, you can still live your life and you can still work sitting at your home, which was 6 months back next to impossible. We are doing hiring. This time the hiring is not limited to a boundary. It doesn't relates where the candidate is today, whether he is in Bangalore or he's in north part of India, he's out of country. It doesn't bother me. uh, Frankly speaking, it doesn't bother me. All I am more conscious these days is the talent, the skill set, your domicile or your physical presence is now is secondary, has taken a back seat, which I think is a good positive sign, especially for the workers, especially for the business groups.
This is wonderful. And you said a magical word. The magical word was and. These are extreme times, and we're able to do things we were never able to do before. That we'll talk more about this word a little bit later. It's so extreme. But at the same time, there is this level of stress. And it sort of takes a bit of that shininess away, doesn't it?
Right, absolutely, absolutely. By the way, people who are listening us, we have a third part of our discussion coming up this Thursday, which is day after, with Mark Gokin on stress management, and we will deep dive in further in our third edition of this talk. So wait for Thursday to discuss on the stress management. But Tim, today I want you to put some more thoughts in terms of uh, how the people can actually grow their skills and be a career ready, or can actually elevate their career graph uh, within this pandemic, within this situation. What are the ways, if you would like to put some thoughts there?
Well, we're going to talk more about stress, and what I'm talking about is not just talking about career development, but it's actually managing and addressing stress. It's standing up to it and say, "You will not pass." We're the mighty wizard in front of the Balrog, and we're doing that not just with emotions, not just with our sense um, of inability, not just our sense of I can't do this. We can actually stand up and say it's a foregone conclusion that not only am I going to come out of all this, I'm going to come out on top in spite of this. And that's what we're looking at. First of all, um, in my classes, when I teach about how do you move forward and how do you learn and how do you grow, the first lesson we learn is leadership is a skill that we don't just embrace because we're leaders and managers, because we have a job title.
Mhm.
Leadership is a skill we have to address, each one of us. We are all leaders. And when we don't lead others, we lead ourselves. In fact, a lot of my students say, Tim, I don't have an opportunity to practice these skills. And I said, look in the mirror. Um, there's your first follower. And that's where we all learn how to lead. We all learn how to lead by listening to ourselves. And so when I talk about leadership, I'm not just talking about leading the world or leading soldiers or leading students or leading a company. I'm talking about leading yourself. Come on, Tim, you can do it. I know you can. It sounds silly talk, but this is another form of leadership, and we can actually take that mantle on and say, yes, I will lead myself. I don't need a voice outside of myself. I have this wonderful voice inside me, you know and so there's two things that you learn as a leader that are primary skills in this area to keep us moving forward and getting unstuck. We're not talking about, skills like Excel or Word or that kind of thing. Inspiration and motivation. Inspiration is intellectual stimulation and creativity. I looked that word up 3 days ago and I thought that was so wonderful. Coming up with a new idea. There's a reward we get when we come up with a new idea. You wake up in the morning and you have a thought and you write it down. You say, wow, that's cool. Or you work on a problem and you can't solve it. And you say, okay, I'm putting this aside. It's getting me too frustrated. And then you wake up in the morning and you say, wow, I figured it out. There are actual mechanisms in our brain that say if I apply intentional focus and a lot of emotional drive in a direction, and then I go to sleep, and if I have a good sleep on top of that, I come up with new ideas. This is proven. In physiology, we do this. You do it naturally, Kumar. You didn't have to read an article to learn this. You do this. And I'm just learning this by reading books and articles and practicing and experimenting. Now, motivation is even more cool. Okay. Motivation is connecting our work to something that fulfills us. Okay. Motivation means that I have personal needs. I have to get food on the table for me and my family. I have to make sure there's a roof over my house and that today's pretty much going to be stable, just like it was yesterday, just like it's tomorrow, and that I'm going to connect to my friends. These are almost physiological needs. They're built into the way our bodies reward us and our bodies function. And actually, this whole thing I'm talking about is why we are who we are, not just as individuals, but as a species. And motivation says, if I can connect the work to fulfilling these needs, like eating and being around my friends, and that work doesn't become work, it becomes play. And it's fun and it's meaningful. This was Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and this is where it was come from. So I can actually use inspiration and motivation for my teams. I can use inspiration and motivation for myself. That's the fundamentals. Okay, that's the whole backdrop. What I'd like to share with you are about 2 or 3 different games and different exercises that anybody can play that actually work really well. And these aren't my ideas. I borrow ideas from the rest of the world and I try them out and I tell myself, gee,
Right.
this works really well. There's 3 of them, and you do this all the time. I was observing a style of each one of these. Now, please interrupt me and ask me about these as we go through, okay?
Right.
It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's really cool. When you and Mark were talking on Thursday, I noticed something. You were using this magical word and Mark was talking about something called a coin, right? And that coin,
Right.
he said, had a bright side on one side and a dark side on the other. And I was envisioning in my mind flipping that coin. And let's say that I have a student that is struggling with an idea and they say, I can't solve it. They're looking at the dark side of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my students, yes, right now you can't solve it. And we're going to find the trick to this puzzle that you have. And after that, it's going to be easier to solve problems just like it. It's the same thing I do with my exercises. I don't like to exercise, especially right now. I have to be really careful with my exercise. I hurt my back about a week and a half ago, and I'm just
Yeah,
coming out of
yeah.
it right now. So I have to be really slow, and I'm frustrated with myself. And I don't like exercising because I have to set everything up and I have to move around. I hate it. I hate it. And I don't say but. I don't say, but I have to do it because it's good for me. I say, I hate exercise, and in 2 weeks, I'm not only going to be back to normal, I'm going to be able to do more than I did yesterday. I'm going on 60. I'm
Mhm.
starting to see 20 to 25 years left of good life. And I'm still able to tell this to myself. I would have never imagined I was a man of optimism, but I keep flipping that coin and I don't know why. We can all do this. It's beautiful. And here's the trick. Whenever you hear yourself saying but, don't stop yourself. But you stop in the middle of it and you say and. The thing is, after you say and, you tell yourself something about what is going to happen afterwards. What's next? What's next? What's next? Here's the reason why. Our minds reward us when we make an achievement. That's why we play video games. That's why we have bings, bongs, and beeps on our smartphones. They
Mhm.
trigger these neurotransmitters, right? The thing is, just the picture and the image of an achievement of something triggers these neurotransmitters too. So by saying, and I will have this at the end, you get a little bit of happy juice. Isn't that wonderful? We can actually fool our minds and do this. It's beautiful. This is the rule of the coin. And every time you have the dark side of the coin, every dark side of a coin has a light side. And there's a reward for you for flipping it. Just for flipping that coin, you get a reward. Now, this coin has a special word. It's called obstacle.
Right.
Everything in your life that's a coin is an obstacle. And we don't face obstacles. But the people who say lean into that obstacle, solve it first, are the ones who have figured out this trick of flipping that coin and turning from the dark side to the light side and getting a little reward. And by that little reward, we can do a little bit more today than we did yesterday. We're a little more optimistic and we're
No, I
rewarded
totally.
more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm totally with you when you say every dark side of the coin has a lighter side. Uh, so it means every obstacle that comes in your way of living life has an opportunity to make things better. You see what I'm saying, right? So if say okay, let me correlate this to the current situation out there. Now, COVID came and everybody got stuck, right? So there was an hurdle, there was a challenge, but then there was new opportunity which came in, which we call it work from home, which is now seamless. I don't see any challenges, right? So unless and until some obstacles comes in our way and the things stop, and you do not work towards making things better, towards finding the lighter version of it, towards finding the opportunity, you will never able to cross the benchmark, right? You need to understand the situation, act, and move ahead. I'm sure there would be 10 doors open for you, waiting for you to come inside and grab the new opportunity that is lying there. But the point is, and that's where when we were talking to Mark, we discussed about the mental psychology. stuff where we have a roadblock not on the way, uh, but it's in our mind where which says, hey, you know what, I cannot move ahead now. Now this is a situation, this oh God, what can I do now? I have lost my job, I'm not finding my suitable or a good match which can be rewarding. What can I do now? Come on, buddy, you need to actually move ahead a bit. Go to the market, prepare your resume, which can talk more details about your work, your experience. Flush it, I mean, sorry, flash it out. Sorry for the wrong word, but flash
Oh
it out.
no.
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple, I mean, I'm just thinking and comparing
And here's the
myself
thing.
with my define myself. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
go ahead.
exactly right. And the beautiful thing is our obstacle, my obstacle, is the shortest path to what I want. Going
Yeah,
through
yeah,
my obstacle is the shortest path from A to B. Going through your obstacle is your shortest path. So the thing you're most frustrated with, and this is what I tell my students all the time, you want to get to where you want faster, find out what's frustrating you the most and flip that coin right there and lean in.
yeah.
And it's insurmountable. But then you're exactly right. That is the shortest path to your reward. That's the shortest path to a greater reward than you could experience. And this is the key. Now, we'll talk about this later, but there are actual neurotransmitters in our body that reward us not just for doing this for ourselves, but doing this for others, being of service. And we'll talk about this later, okay? But
Hmm.
being of service actually physiologically rewards us. You know, being around others and being a parent figure or a mentor figure for others, the body triggers happy juice for us. And it's a natural inoculation against this feeling of ongoing dread and stress. Isn't that beautiful? Our bodies are architected to do just what we need in these situations. We are made for these type of times. We are structured. It doesn't matter whether you're religious, spiritual, agnostic, or anything. We have evidence that says this is the way the body functions. And these are the things that have kept us moving forward in spite of famine, drought,
Right.
earthquake, volcano, and pandemics. We are made for this. And we can actually claim this. We're a bunch of royalty. We're a bunch of superheroes who are at the beginning of the movie, and we don't even see the middle of the movie, much less the end. And I think about this
Yeah.
every day. I walk into my classes and I say, you guys are a bunch of superheroes. And it changes the way I think about people, and it changes the way I think about my whole life.
No, absolutely. That reminds me of yesterday's news time. Did you watch the WHO chief talking about?
I I missed that. Please,
You missed that, okay?
please go ahead. Please go
No.
ahead.
So what he said is basically uh, to the people out there that be prepared for more it's on the way. It's on your way. So
Yes. And you and I have been talking about this. Be prepared for the house to stand up on its own 2 feet and walk to another town. And that's what he's saying. We
yeah,
are architected. We are physically architected across the last 10 millennia, across the last 100,000 years. You know, we are architected for the unknown, not just the things we know
right,
about,
right,
but the unknown itself. Now, how can we actually help ourselves? How can we actually keep our spirits up and keep grasp in our conscious minds that were up to the task. And that's the next experiment that I want to give you, and I want to give the rest of the people.
Right. So tell me okay, tell me in more layman way, which can be understood by everybody who is listening in. What should be the, you know, let's go with the three or four, maybe four pointers or the skills that you say that we should sharpen this during this pandemic or this during this period. What are the three or maybe four skills that you want us to work upon?
Flipping that coin. Again,
Point
I'm
one.
not going to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, point one, flipping that coin and using and replacing but with and. Okay, there's something about it. It does something to your mindset. Number two, it's the way you talk to yourself and the way you talk to others. We've forgotten in the West how to convince people. If we look at debate, it's not debate right now, it's argument. And in order to win in arguments, they're putting people down. They're saying that man has scuffed shoes, therefore don't listen to him. Or that person is wearing the wrong color of tie, therefore they should not be listened to. I'm right, they're wrong because they're wearing the right tie. No, that's not debate. That's incorrect. Okay? That's incorrect. There are actual skills that we have been polishing for the last 6,000 years in Western civilization. And actually, India has a longer history that has the same skills. We call these skills rhetoric, the ability through use of your intellect, your emotion, and your ethics to get people to think like yourself. Now, if
can
you
I
can
add something
do it,
here?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Just a point came to my mind here while you were talking about flipping the coin and taking but away and replace it with and. I was just thinking, and then you talked about the debates and the people getting into more arguments. I think the people has, this is not the problem of this generation. I think it's coming from long past. That people
You know,
has uh
that you are so right. Finish your thought.
yeah. I was just adding in another 30 seconds. Tim, is people have started or they actually perceive things rather than absorbing things. They should start absorbing. I mean, you are more intelligent. Yes, I absorb that in me, right? The moment I start perceiving you, right, saying that, hey, what, Tim is trying to be more intellect. Hey, really, is he so intellect? When I get into perceiveness, when I start questioning the stuffs rather than absorbing those informations, I think that's the moment when a person gets into argument rather than discussion. What do you say?
So an argument comes from I am wrong and you are right. That's what an argument is. An argument is not this issue is really this. This issue is not that. Okay? Let me explain this. This goes into economics and something called game theory. There's two games we play. We play it in business, we play it at home, we play it in all our relationships. There's two games. One game says, I'm wrong and you're right. And this is argument. It's called the zero-sum game. Somebody has to be a winner. Somebody has to be a loser. Somebody has to get a promotion and somebody has to get a pink slip. Okay, I came from a corporation that was like that. 10% of the people going through performance reviews this year are going to get promotions. 10% of the people who are going through performance this year are going to get a pink slip. In my corporation, we knew this. It was communicated. It was part of the culture. Okay. This is called win-lose. It's also called zero sum. Okay. Now, there's another game.
Mm-hmm.
We can also play how long can we keep this game going? This means neither one of us are right. We don't understand the rules. And if we can work together, we can get better. Let me give you an example. Okay. It's 1200 AD or 1200 BCE or CE. Okay. It's the middle of Germany. And I'm outside of a village and I'm trying to feed my family. And I'm going to pick up 2 or 3 rabbits, right? And bring them home, and then we can eat. And then they're okay. I see another hunter on the other side of the valley. There's 2 games I can play with that hunter without even talking to him. If I get the rabbits, they don't. If they get the rabbits, I don't. That's called win-lose. Now, there's another game I can play. If I figure out how to communicate and interact with that hunter and I can get together and we can actually play together, and we can not just get 2 rabbits, but we can get an entire deer, and then both that hunter and I can sit in the fire for 4 days without going out in the woods and enjoy ourselves with our families. We get a greater reward from playing the non-zero sum game. With the zero sum game, there's only a limited amount of win to go around. With the non-zero sum game, or how can we keep this game going, that's the game of true commerce, we can actually increase the amount of win. Now, which game do we want to play? We're being asked that every time. Every argument that I get into, I ask myself, how can I turn this game from a zero-sum game where somebody has to lose to a non-zero-sum game? How can we work together? Now, this is another form of flipping that coin that we were talking about, isn't it?
Right.
That's exactly what we're talking about. Now, how do I flip that coin with that hunter in 1200 CE, right? How do I flip that coin? How do I do it? There's 3 ways, okay? Number 1, speaking to the head. It's called logos, using logic. That doesn't work very well, does it? In the news, we don't trust our scientists. We don't listen to reason, right? We're not reasonable right now because we're scared. And when individuals, and especially groups, are scared, we're not reasonable. So there are 2 other things we can speak to. Now, the world's greatest speakers, the world's greatest leaders knew this, and they studied it. They didn't just figure it out like poor Tim figured it out 20 years after he went to university. They learned it when they were young, and they polished it for decades, okay? The second thing that you can actually have is pathos, which is the heart, speaking to the emotions. Have you ever seen somebody up on a stage like Martin Luther King Jr.? Watch the recordings of him. I have a dream, and he speaks with conviction, and the emotions behind it, and his compassion, his energy actually speaks to us. It speaks in another language. And so you have speaking from the head and speaking from the heart. And then there's a third speech that you can have. It's speaking from down here. It's called speaking from intuition. And that's called ethos or ethics, speaking from your moral compass. And these leaders actually learned and practiced speaking from the head, the heart, and the stomach together, all three. And this is what we called rhetoric. And we can do this. It was really funny.
These are
Go
the
ahead.
people.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt him. But this is a point that you brought up. Uh, Connecting people, or when can I say that I'm connected? You see, I mean, it's a skill, isn't it? Uh, I mean, there are very rare people. Rare people. You took the name Martin Luther King. I mean, there is Mahatma Gandhi. Then there is, the leaders. I mean, they connect to the people. And you rightly said that, a person, when he speaks from mind, heart, and the ethics, and that's when he connects to the people. I think you should do a session on that. How can you be presentable? How can you actually connect to the people? That's the whole new topic, which I think you should take it up.
Let's pursue this. Let's make a mental note and let's spend some time thinking about this. And people out there, if this actually is important to you, and if this drives you, tell us. Okay, what this is something that Kumar and I do all the time, everyone, and we're inviting you into these conversations because we found it so compelling, and we put a simple show together, and a bunch of you told us this is important. Please do. So if you also find this compelling, tell us. Connecting, and that's the third thing I wanted to talk about today. And by the way, Kumar, I don't have a class I'm teaching. So if you guys have questions about what we're talking about today, we can continue it. But yes, I'm more than willing to talk about this. This is the third experiment that I wanted to actually share with you today, Kumar, this connectedness. And you know what's strange? You brought this up, right? Gandhi,
Mhm.
Martin Luther King Jr., JFK, all these people were good at it, but they didn't start off being good. There's two things. They had to learn how to do it well, and they had to start with a small group of people. There's a theory um, that's called um, diffusion of innovation. Okay.
Mhm.
If have you ever heard of the Gartner hype cycle?
Right, right.
Things,
Why
technology,
you call it as a hype
ideas.
cycle, Tim? Sorry, why
Um,
why why you call it as a hype cycle?
Hype means that you bring awareness and you get excited about it, right? And
Right.
there's a natural behavior for groups to get really excited about something and then get disappointed with it, and then over time gradually adopt it. It's what happens with the adoption of technology. Intel Corporation was really good. They understood hype cycles. They understood that everybody got excited about computers, and then they started learning about them, and everybody hated computers. Everybody got excited about Apple, and then all of a sudden, for a little while, everybody got disappointed because they learned the reality that there was the other side of the coin of Apple, right? And then over a slow amount of time, everybody started adopting it. Okay. And Gartner saw this in commerce. And so they developed a lot of their forecasting along this. And it has to do with the diffusion of innovation. Okay. The diffusion of innovation says that there's about 16% of the people who are excited about what I'm excited about. Okay. I don't have to speak to 100% of the population. I just have to speak to the people who see my way of thinking. That's all I have to do. I don't have to speak to everybody. I only have to speak to that 16%, which means I don't have to be something I'm not. I can be authentic. All I have to do is be convincing to myself, have conviction, believe in what I am, know exactly who I am and where I am, and speak to that. And 16% of the world is going to be excited about me. That's all.
I see
And
that. Right.
those people are going to follow me. Now, Martin Luther King Jr. knew this. JFK knew this. Gandhi knew this. They knew that these early adopters were going to continue to talk about them and say, you know, this person, they're saying something wise. Listen to them. And it's going to grow slow. It doesn't grow overnight. As an entrepreneur, you know you're not going to have a good, strong business in 3 years. As an entrepreneur, you know in 10 years, if you stick to your message, if you stick to your core business, in 10 years, your business is going to be better than you could ever perceived. This is adoption of the rule of the diffusion of innovation. 16% of your early adopters are going to talk about you, be excited about you. Now, this we can actually talk about how to take advantage of this in workshops and other conversations. How can I use this knowledge to be able to move myself forward? We're talking about flipping that coin. We're talking about using rhetoric, my logos, pathos, and ethos, and we're talking about connecting. We're connecting to people because we believe in what we do and who we are. We're speaking with conviction, and that's the beautiful thing. This connection seems to be another inoculation against this sense of continuous stress and dread. Isn't that beautiful?
Indeed.
We're
Indeed.
physiologically
Yeah.
architected to actually have this occur.
Yeah. No, this is indeed it's exciting. It's only about the people to start adopting stuff that you're talking
Now,
about. We talked about the challenges out there. I mean, the point is, if you realize what's the challenge, then you can actually work towards the solution. The problem is, most of the people don't realize that there is a challenge. They just get stuck to something and then they say, hey, you know what? I cannot move an inch.
this is why I've been talking about those 5 things all along that we can use to actually move forward in life. This is the first one, learning how to learn. Learning how to learn is learning how to be a leader, how to adopt new ideas and new concepts, and how to adapt among a changing environment where the house stands up on its feet and walks away. Okay? This is the first step, a part of that. Finding your purpose is the second part, which is my meaning in life. If you have a reason why you're doing something, that's the source of conviction. Finding your tribe, and you mentioned this about 5 minutes ago. How do we do this? And again, just like we're talking about with the law of diffusion of innovation, there is a whole different discussion we can have. How do I recognize my people? How do I recognize my 16%? How do I find them? And you can actually do that. There are actual steps you can do. And finding my obstacle and embracing that obstacle, flipping that coin. Where is your coin in your life? And we can talk about that. And also, there's 1/5 one that I'd like to actually propose too. And we won't talk about this today. Making friends with solitude. In these enlightened times, we are alone more than we're not. And a lot of us are more alone than we like to be. And it creates a sense of fear because it forces us to think about what we don't want to think about. And we could actually talk more about how can we embrace solitude itself. It seems that these people that we bring up all the time, the great speakers, the great leaders, and I can mention over, hundreds upon hundreds of these people, they seem to have these things and a few other things in common. And we can talk about how we can actually take this. I'm not talking about turning into JFK. I'm not talking about
Mhm.
turning into God. I'm talking about us turning into us, actually stepping up and embracing our greatness. And we can act. This is not something that, you, this is not something that says, gee, Tim is great because Tim knows this. No, this is take Tim off the table. I'm with you. The more people who are interested in learning these things, let's have this. And that's where you and I started talking about the academy itself. The academy was an idea. Jonah Academy was an idea where it wasn't another training company. It was a focus point where people can start talking about this thing, and people who are excited about this idea come here. Great idea creators like Mark and you and myself, great people who are ready to take the next step, or even great people who are not ready to take the step but gravitate towards us. This is what actually is the mechanism to moving forward in these enlightened times.
True. Got it. No, this is wonderful. I mean, if we do, or if we bring in practice what you just discussed, I think most of the areas can be taken care by itself. Uh, it,
You
the
know,
question is, you need to realize, yeah, people
yeah,
has to realize these terms.
yeah, and the thing is, what I've learned over the last 7 or 8 years by working with this stuff, this is not putting on a cape and flying around like Superman. This is
Hmm.
getting up every day and brushing your teeth. This is getting up every day, washing the dishes and putting it away. This is getting up and doing your exercises every day. It's the boring things. It's that flipping the coin. And flipping the coin is boring because it's simple. And you tell yourself, nah, that's not important. Yes, because every day you flip that coin 10,000 times. And flipping that coin may not mean anything, but flipping that coin constantly becomes a habit and it becomes natural. And all of a sudden, this mechanism takes on a life of its own.
Yeah, I mean, see, the challenge is also I have seen. So I have a bunch of people working with me. Uh, I see they get motivated once, but the second time, if they again fail, their motivation goes to the ground zero. You see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I always
So,
keep myself, yeah. So I always keep myself, I mean, I keep giving examples to the people I know is I learn a lot from my kid. You see, I mean, he tries to take something out of the self. I stop him once, and then he kind of okay. He will wait for me to get distracted from this, and then he will again go and try to take those things from out of himself. So he and I'm also smart enough. You see, I'm also smart enough. So what I do, I again go and pull him down. He does the same thing, and I'll tell you what. 9 out of 10 times he succeed. 9 out of 10.
yes, 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 yes.
You see, he
We learn
succeeds.
so much from our children. Our children teach us such wonderful gifts. I'm looking at one of my messages to myself here. That message says prepare, learn as you go, and fail. Do this a lot. Um, um, When I was younger in the 1980s and 1990s, Microsoft was really big, and they asked the CEO of Microsoft, "How did you get this way? How can our children become a CEO of Microsoft?" And he said, "Let them play video games." And they said, "What? Video games are evil." And he said, "No, no." He said, "Video games teach you how to fail, and they teach you how to fail over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until you succeed. And then you go on to the next struggle and you
Yeah.
fail again over and over and over and over and over and over again until you succeed. This is what our physiological is built for. And our children teach us this. We're naturally built, we're architected for learning from failure. Failure is not bad. Failure is is not bad. It's a hammer. It is a useful tool in progress. Now, the way we perceive and the way we respond to failure is what gets us in the way. So when people give up, a great leader says, "You failed? Great. Okay, let's hunker down and let's get more people onto this problem and push together because this is our obstacle. And if we all push together, we're going to overcome this. And then we're going to have a bigger problem. And that's even more wonderful." That's what leadership is all about. It's not celebrating failure, it's using that failure as a compass. It's the focal point of where we're going to push next. That is the beautiful thing. And that's what your son is teaching you. Your son is teaching you, yes, I'm going to fail once and I'm going to get what I want. Nothing is going to stop me. Now, that to get back to motivation, if I have something, and your son's thinking about this, if I have something that's in the way of fulfilling my personal needs right now, I'm going to figure out a way to do that. So a smart leader says, let me connect what that person is doing with fulfillment of their personal needs. So all of a sudden, you're not trying to figure out how to get a rabbit away from the other hunter. You're getting into the mind of the other hunter so you can build a relationship with that hunter, and you work instead of against each other. You're working with each other, and
Right.
all of a sudden your hunter is moving with you. That's and again, this is gets back to our whole idea of rhetoric and convincing others.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, this is amazing. This is just amazing. I mean, there are so many permutation combinations that can be applied to life. Uh, uh, I mean, keep on trying it unless and until you succeed. I truly say I learn a lot from my kids, and I'm sure his kids in the
It's
future,
funny.
it will.
It's funny. You and I looked up to parents as knowing everything, and we're still children being taught by our 6-year-old and 7-year-old parents.
Yeah.
I walk into each class. I walk into each class, and sometimes I have over 150 people in my classes, and I think, thank you, teachers, for being here today.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I sit in awe of some of my students. They're wonderful. They're going through a complex training cycle of material. I can't even, it took me years to embrace some of these concepts, and they're doing it as a second language. Bless them. I can't even imagine the insurmountable odds my students are going through. And so I have to work 120% to help those people, because if I can help them do that, what are they able to do tomorrow? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
this is how we change life. This is not just making my life more
No,
comfortable.
absolutely that point.
This is actually helping put my family, myself, and society itself in another direction. Isn't that wonderful?
Sure. No, this is wonderful indeed. We will talk more on this, Tim, on our next show on Tuesday. But for the people out there, we will be starting few career-oriented courses. What I mean by that is basically the courses which will directly help you land in to the work. I mean, to the jobs. Those sort of trainings we're going to start. We will start with project management, project management skills, then followed by the machine learning, artificial intelligence, learning Python, your different sort of languages to build your applications like .NET, Java, Drupal, Magento. We will be starting these trainings, and Tim will give us a more description on what we actually trying to do out this. One thing that I want to assure everybody out there that this is not going to be a simple training company. This is beyond that, and how is something that Tim and I will be talking more in details in our next Tuesday session. But for now, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that we are hiring. There is vacancy on multiple roles that we're looking out for candidates. So
Isn't that
on
cool?
Magento, yeah, especially so there are multiple vacancies we have here. One is the Magento developers we're looking at. Then we need a WordPress developer. We need people who are good at social media management. Who are good at SEO, who are good at digital marketing. We also need people who are sales, who has a sales background, who actually want to actually go ahead and convince people out there. If you have that attitude, please drop in your resumes. Please feel free to give us a ping, hr@ichonaservices.com. Here's the email ID, ichonaservices.com. Please feel free to drop in your messages and your resumes to this email ID, and I can assure you that somebody from my team will get in touch with you, and will move ahead. I mean, let's move ahead. Let's not block and think that things are. Let's stop. Let's not do that. Let's move ahead. Just Tim has explained that how we can do this, and here's the opportunity that we
and
have.
and and and
Go ahead.
together and together and that's the key. And again, we're talking about skills here. It's not just skills. We're also embracing um, these. You can call them skills, but they're not like Excel and Word. They're different mindsets and how we change our minds. There are different um, different habits, and how do we change habits? How do we learn how to progress? Not just in a career development, but it works in careers. Not just in our personal lives, but it works in personal lives. How do we embrace being a human? And that's fundamental to all the training and the mindset that we have behind this. And if you're interested, and if this actually is compelling to you, please reach out, because sometimes it the skills are important, but at all times the mindset and the focus and the conviction is what is really successful. I want to stress this. It's not just the people who know Excel and Word and databases who get the jobs. It's people who say, I may not have this skill, but you'll see, you'll see something from me. And if you just give me a chance, I will actually step up to any issue, no matter what that issue is. That's the type of people that we're envisioning, and you can be that person. we're going to be continuing these talk shows. We're going to start putting on workshops as well as this formal training. And we're going to continue to be here. So please communicate with us, share with us. If nothing else, let's keep this conversation going.
Absolutely. I just did message on the chat window to all the people out there on the kind of openings that we have. And where the resume. So you have the details in the chat box of yours. Please feel free to drop in and send your queries, and we will take things forward. Thank you so much, Tim, for your time, and I look forward to our next session, which is due for Thursday, same time, with Mark Gokin on stress management.
Oh, that's going to be a joy, and show up, everyone, if you can't. These are saved, and the links are available afterwards if you can't, and you can find both Kumar and myself and other people on other platforms as well, over at LinkedIn. Say hi to us and keep the conversation going. We're here for you 120%.
As you say, Tim, thank you so much, and you enjoy the rest of the day.
You too.
Soon. Cheers. Thank you,
Thanks
people.
again.
Good day.